Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at number three. We're not going to solve it right now, but just to kind of get the language down. So, so number two says, how much excess demand exists. And again, so for excess demand, um, for the price ceiling, you've got to know if it's binding or not binding, and then you've got to calculate the difference between quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So, is there anybody who doesn't understand what's going on with that? I mean, there's going to be some more lectures and things like that to come to your guys' way pretty soon if you haven't already, um, gotten a hold of how to calculate excess demand or excess supply. Um, but that ends up being key whenever we're talking about these price ceiling type questions. And so if we look at question number three, so it says, how much of the good will be traded? And so, this is just kind of a little check. I mean, assuming that you have a binding price ceiling, right? Um, then you're going to end up having excess demand, right? And so if you have excess demand, that means the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied. And since the market's otherwise free, and again, when we say that the market's free, what we mean is that nobody's being coerced into trade. So then the suppliers are going to have the smaller quantity. The quantity supplied is going to be smaller than quantity demanded. And so the sellers are just going to sell what they want to sell. They're going to get sold out. And that is what we should get in terms of the quantity traded because
大家好，我是 Trick。
kind of. I don't know if you guys heard that. I think that is Jian Yu. So, but the main point is that's going to be the quantity traded because the sellers are going to trade what they have, and they're going to be a bunch of buyers that want to buy but they can't. Does anybody have any questions about that? So that's question number three. The question number four, we switch to price floors, and so I think this is a good place to get started this morning. And you guys can see that questions 4, 5, and 6 are all related, and so is question 7. So we're just changing, the equations are the same. We're just changing what piece of data we're looking for. So let's go ahead and why don't we, so Hannah, do you have your mic this morning? You normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't we put you in charge of question number 4, and Jacob DeMonico.
Hi.
Hi. So why don't you be in charge of question number 5?
Okay.
Okay. And Z Yuan.
Hi, Professor.
Hi. Why don't you be in charge of question number 6?
Sure.
Okay. And then let's see, Daniel Gruen. Daniel. Okay, I don't know if you're putting it in chat or not, but I guess you can't hear me. So how about Joseph Jankowicz?
Wait, what? I was trying to unmute myself.
Oh, okay. So you got it, Daniel. So you be in charge of question number 7, Daniel.
Okay.
Okay. Now, for all of you that are doing questions 4, 5, 6, and 7, since they're all related, also do the other one so we can kind of get a poll going, and so back each other up. I mean, like I said, if I was going to solve these questions, I mean, given that they're all related, I would solve them. I would draw my diagram for the price floor. I would determine, if it's binding or not binding, and then I would go about seeing if there's excess supply or excess demand, and characterizing the equilibrium. So questions 4, 5, 6, and 7 all do that. So even though we have a different person in charge of each question, you guys shouldn't, and girls, you shouldn't just stop and don't try to answer the other questions. So we have a pool of people we can call on to get additional comments. Okay, so you guys work on that. It is 7:55, so I'll be back at let's just say 8 a.m. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to work that out. And if you guys have any questions, just raise your hand or speak up or whatever. Okay. All right. See you guys in just a minute. Okay, so we're back. Okay. So I think question 4 was for Hannah. And so Hannah, you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question, and it's just a yes or no question. In this case, is the price ceiling binding or non-binding? Or it's a price floor, sorry.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure.
Okay, so let's move on to our, because we can't really answer the question unless we know if it's binding or not.
Non-binding?
Well, let's do well, okay, for it to be binding, for it to be a price floor, it means that, and I don't know if did you draw your diagram with the price floor in there?
I believe so, maybe.
If I am telling you,
I did draw a diagram.
Okay, that's fine then. So, what's the first thing you should put on the diagram?
The two equations.
Well, yeah. So you put your demand curve and your supply curve, right?
Yes.
And then what's the next thing that you should do?
Finding equilibrium.
Yeah, you have to find the equilibrium because, I mean, you can kind of know. I mean, in this case, it actually turns out to be simple, but in most cases, you won't be able to know if the price floor or the price ceiling, if it's binding, unless you calculate the equilibrium first.
Okay.
Right? Because whether it's binding or not, all has to do, remember the definition of binding has to do if it is different from the equilibrium price, right? And in particular, for a floor to be binding, it has to be a price that's above the equilibrium price, right? For a floor. And for a binding ceiling, a binding price ceiling price is a price that's below the equilibrium. So they're not exactly the same. But in both cases, if you don't calculate the equilibrium price and you don't compare it to the price ceiling or price floor price, you won't know where to put it on your diagram and relative to the equilibrium price, and you won't know if it's binding or not binding.
So then so this would be non-binding because 4 is lower than the equilibrium.
Yeah, because remember the price floor says, and our best example of a price floor is a minimum wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the minimum wage says you have to pay people above this amount, right? And probably one of the good ways to think about it Maybe tell me if this helps you out, Hannah, like kind of really get the idea. So we know that the minimum wage in California is going towards $15 an hour. It's not quite there, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say it's $15 an hour. And say this market is, because it's just demand and supply. So we don't know demand and supply of what. It's just a generic thing. It's just widgets, right? But for an example, let's suppose it was the demand and for labor for a highly skilled category of labor and supply of labor in that highly skilled category. So for example, let's say it's the demand and supply of services provided by heart surgeons or brain surgeons, right? How much do you think a brain surgeon makes in an hour?
A lot more than minimum wage.
Yeah. So is the minimum wage going to do anything to them?
No.
No. So, but if it was the demand and supply for retail clerk services, then, right, maybe the minimum wage is forcing, you know, the people that are at Aldi and Target to get paid more than they otherwise would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the minimum wage in California would be non-binding on lots of categories of labor, like lawyers and doctors and engineers and professors, right? So it doesn't do anything to them. So that's what it means to be non-binding. It doesn't affect anything because the equilibrium price is already above the price floor price. So anyway, so in this case, you say it's non-binding. And Jacob, do you agree with her that it's non-binding?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody disagree? We walked through it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Hannah. Yay, Hannah. And so now we move on to Jacob. So Jacob, how much excess supply exists?
There's none. No excess.
Yeah. So since we're at the equilibrium is in effect. It's non-binding. It doesn't do anything to the market. And remember, the special thing about the equilibrium, the market equilibrium, if that's what applies, is the market equilibrium has no excess supply, no excess demand, no surpluses. And just remember, when we use the word surplus in this context, we mean like an extra amount of the good. We don't mean like consumer surplus, producer surplus. We're not talking about welfare. We're talking about, production. So there's no surplus production. There's no shortage in production. Everything's in balance. So does everybody see that? Does anybody have any question? Okay, let's see. So Hannah, did you calculate the equilibrium price?
Yeah, and I got that.
Okay, good job. And let's see. Okay, that's in line with what Jacob said. And so question number 6 was for Z Yuan.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
For
And
that, I got 150.
You got 150?
152.
Oh.
Oh, wait, no,
Well,
that's...
you know what? So
I don't think that's right. That's equilibrium.
Yeah, I think this is an error because this is the price and it's not
Right.
quantity.
That's the point.
Yeah, so this is just something goofy. But if Z1, do me a favor.
Yes.
And send me a little email and put in the tagline EC4401 and then this is the price controls homework and just ask me to check on this answer because I want to go and see because I can see like the answer formulas and stuff like that and see if there's a problem there that I could fix.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, so this should be the equilibrium quantity. The equilibrium quantity is going to be 80 minus 4 divided by 7. Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe the one that's wrong. Let's double check this. So did you guys, so Hannah, did you calculate the equilibrium price and quantity? You're going, no, not really. Okay.
I think I got 15.2.
Okay, let me double check. Okay, so I have 80
Might be wrong though.
minus 4 equals divided by 7. Yeah, and actually, so if I set for number 6, right? If I set those two equations equal to each other and solve for Q, I get 80. So Z1, I get 80 minus 4, which is 76, divided by 7 for the equilibrium quantity. And let's see here.
That's 10.5.
Yeah, so that's 10.86. And let's see if you guys can see my calculator, right? So that's the equilibrium quantity. Okay. So I'm not going to clap for you guys if you get the wrong answers. Just so you know. I draw the line. I don't give false praise. And I'm not sarcastic, so I wouldn't do it just, to make fun. So anyway, so we have and then our equilibrium price should be, we substitute that back into one of the equations. So 80 minus 5 times 10.857, I think it was. Yeah, and then I get an equilibrium price of 25.715. So the one that's actually problematic, if there is one, let's just double check. How much will be supplied at the price floor price? Yeah, right. So that's the equilibrium quantity. So we would only be calculating this to see if it's binding or not binding to put it on our diagram. Okay, so Hannah's still good, but so you see why this is the right answer. Z1. I thought we should calculate it because
I think what I did is that I calculate everything that's traded like above the price floor.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be, because remember the price floor is not binding.
Mm-hmm.
So the price floor does nothing in this problem. It's just a standard equilibrium because the price floor is too low to cause any change into behavior. So the price floor is at $4, right? And the equilibrium price is at $25. And all the price floor says is you got to pay more than $4. And everybody already is. They're paying $25. So it doesn't do anything. So anyway, does anybody have any questions about that? No. Okay. But yeah, I don't think there are any errors here now. So that's why I was surprised. So, and then how about this one? What price will prevail? Okay. So this is Daniel. What'd you get, Daniel, for the price?
He wrote 4 in chat.
Oh, okay. So how many people agree with Daniel? If you agree with Daniel, say yes in chat. And okay, I'll give you guys a minute. Okay, Ricardo says yes. Yes. Jacob says yes. Okay. And Joseph says yes. And Stephen says yes. No. Okay. So if you disagree with Daniel, say no in chat if you haven't already said yes. So we just had like the list of people. So disagree?
You're like one no.
I'm just double checking. So only Marlena. Okay. So Daniel, do you have your mic? One sec to set up. Okay. We'll give you 1 second. 1/1000.
Hello?
Hey, okay. Hey, Daniel. So you say the prevailing price. Now, by prevail, you know what we mean, right? I kind of talked.
Probably.
Okay, so tell me what your thought process is. Prevail.
Well, the price
If
ceiling is below the equilibrium price.
yeah,
So the price ceiling is what it gets set to because that's what the maximum possible price is.
right. So this one is switched because we were dealing with price floors before, and now we switched to price ceilings. And so this actually is a binding price ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if it's a binding price ceiling, then if it's below the equilibrium price, and in this case it is, and maybe that's why Marlena got a little bit confused because we switched from price floors to price ceiling. 4 was a non-binding price floor, but it's a binding price ceiling. And so, yeah, like I said, the metaphor is it's like a fight between the prices, you know. It's like um, the a couple of knights out on the battlefield, knights with a K, right? And which one is going to prevail? It's just metaphorical language. But yeah, so the price that's going to be determined in the market, given that this is a binding um, price ceiling, is 4. Good job, Daniel.
Thanks.
The crowd goes wild. You didn't hear it, but like there's everybody in the class is clapping for you, screaming. Okay, so everybody, good job, and let's go ahead. So did you see what happened, Marlena? Are you good?
Yes, yeah, I mixed up the price floor and the price ceiling.
Yeah, I mean yeah, I have to read the questions too because they'll switch up on you. But let's go ahead and I almost made the same mistake myself because I was just going along and working with the price floor problem, but yeah, it switches to price ceiling. So so question number 8. So this one is dealing with the price ceiling situation, right? And it says, what is the change in consumer surplus compared to the market? So just so everybody's on the same page and you understand, it's important that it says change in consumer surplus. And you guys might think that like this is unnecessary, but just so you guys or ladies, everybody understands, right? What you'd have to do is calculate the consumer surplus at the market, right? As if there was no price ceiling, and then calculate the consumer surplus after, right, with the price ceiling in place, and then take the difference between the two. Okay, and yeah, in that way, you can calculate what's going to turn out to be a loss in consumer surplus, and um, yeah, so you have to do both of them. So, Arsenio, you here this morning? Arsenio?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and
I'm
be
here.
one of the leads on number 8, and then Sebastian, you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, why don't you be the backup or second on number 8, and I'll give you guys we'll say 3 minutes to do that. It's 8:19. We'll go to 8:22 this morning. Okay.